We have reached the final stretch towards Election Day. Vice President Kamala Harris is going on the offense. She's filling up stadiums in DeKalb County, Georgia. You see a star-studded event that's taking place right now. About 15,000 people in the crowd. If you talk about the other areas as well, as many as 25,000 people could be there. Vice President Kamala Harris is doing that on the heels of a town hall with CNN where she answered no questions were off limits. She answered all of the questions. We heard from some independent voters afterwards who said how important that town hall was for them. On the other hand, you've got Donald Trump continuing to show his cognitive spiral and his complete spiral into madness as he goes from event to event, mostly talking about his own cognitive exams or him now projecting, oh, it's Vice President Kamala Harris. She's the one who's exhausted. She's the one who's having cognitive issues. I want to talk about all of that. Also, we should talk about what should have been, I think, a bigger story yesterday. I guess when a story breaks about Donald Trump allegedly playing wicked games with Jeffrey Epstein and sexually assaulting women, that doesn't register for corporate media anymore. That's not a big enough story. The Guardian broke this story. Epstein, Donald Trump, a young lady, the twisted games that Epstein and Trump were playing with her, assaulting her. There's a lot of detail, a lot of corroborating evidence. The Guardian did a good job writing that story. We reported it right away here. But I guess for a lot of corporate media, that's Trump being Trump. That's who Trump is. We can't normalize this, folks. We can't let America become that. This is the MeidasTouch Podcast. Let's get into it right away. Brett, Jordy, good to see you both here. And look, I am feeling positive, number one. Number two, sleeves are up. I'm ready to work. And, and I think that's going to be the theme of these next 10 days. Work like your life depends on it, because it does.
It's the only thing you can do. I'm feeling extremely optimistic. I mean, cautiously optimistic, but I'm feeling very optimistic. And I think what we all have to realize is nobody's going to save us except us at the end of the day. You can't rely on the corporate media. I mean, they're doing like the world's worst job I've ever seen, just dropping the ball on every big story. And then the way they report even good stuff is like bad. Like I've just never seen it. It's like gotta be by design because it's that bad, or unless they're just that dumb. I don't know. I hate to go there, but like, I don't know. But the enthusiasm that I'm seeing out there right now for Vice President Harris is through the roof. And there's all these media narratives like, oh, is the momentum drying up? Is she? No, actually, it's not. Like, actually, people are really excited. I speak to a lot of people on the ground all the time who are in swing states, who are knocking on doors. They all say that everybody's super excited. We're looking at these crowds in Georgia today. I mean, they're absolutely insane. I mean, just look at this for the people who are watching right now, this crowd in the stadium. And we look at these lines that are just stretching down the block, like just going crazy to see Vice President Kamala Harris. And it is a positive energy. It is an energy of joy. When you look at these Trump events, it's just like depression and hatred. And it's like the complete opposite. You see the people leaving. You just see everything is a mess. And I am, I'm cautiously optimistic about the election, but we all need to be putting in the work every single day. We got less than 2 weeks, something like 10 days or something around there. It's pretty wild that we're that close. But now's the time for action, folks. Jordy, what's up?
Excited for today's show. I just wanted to piggyback off that point, Brett. When you look at these other communities out there, there's so much built on negativity and hatred and just overall meanness. And so when I could look at this community here, the Meidas Mighty community, this pro-democracy loving community, and see that what we've all built, this collective we here, on love, on compassion, on doing the work, on being each other's friends and figuring this out. I just get motivated every day by the Meidas Mighty. So love you guys. And let's kick some ass these last couple days.
You know what? I never woke up and thought, wouldn't I be way better off if America looked like 1798? I think what's missing right now is all of the great things that were going on in that 18th century period. And that's when things were really great. One of the funny things is we were all talking about with Donald Trump was, I'm not sure if it's even funny is the right word, when he says make America great again. What was that specific period, though, that you're kind of referring to? Because right now, America's the world's largest economy. We're kicking China's ass right now, where, they go drill, baby, drill. America's got more domestic drilling than ever in the history of the United States. Wages are higher than they've ever been right now. Unemployment is at all-time lows right now. America has got inflation under control where other countries have not. As I said, America is the fastest growing GDP of all G7 nations. You look at analysis, whether it's by The Economist, not exactly a bastion of kind of liberal and progressive ideology, or the Wall Street Journal, or you look at any just honest, sober economic analysis of the times, America's in a boom right now. That doesn't mean that we should just spike the football and be like, oh, this is great. No, we should recognize that a lot of the things that are screwing people are the fact that they're Republican policies that have led to CEO pay increasing by like 2,000% since 1978, while the average worker's pay in that same time period has only increased like 12 to 15%. That's by design. That's what Reaganomics, frankly, was about. And that's what the Republican economic policies and deregulation and everything was all about. But I try to think, what was the time period that they were like, we were kicking ass? And Donald Trump keeps saying it. He goes 1798. That's the time period. And he says it for a lot of reasons. He likes he thinks that's when the economy was the greatest. He says that's when the laws were most effective. There was something called the Alien Enemies Act, where people can be rounded up and put in camps on the basis of ancestry. Here's what Donald Trump says at his events. Here, play it.
Think of that. We had to go back to 1798. That's when we had laws that were effective. 1798 we had to go back to.
There was slavery in 1790. What are you talking about? 1798 is when laws were most effective. It's simply not the case. By the way, the reason that there was even an Alien Enemies Act at the time period as well is because America was not the leader of the world, right? The idea was both the British and the French at any point in time could basically take over the United States of America around that time period. So that's Donald Trump's message. Go back to 1798. And I guess his other messages talking about the genitals of deceased Hall of Fame golfers, or talking about fictional serial killers, Hannibal Lecter, or Donald Trump talking about windmills killing whales. And I'll show you this. Congressmember Eric Swalwell put out, I think, the ad of the political season, which is, here's what I like about this ad too. He doesn't change anything that Donald Trump actually said in this ad. Everything that the actor who plays Trump says are actual things that Donald Trump says every single day as a major part of his campaign event. So here's the new ad by Congressmember Swalwell talking about how Donald Trump belongs in a different kind of house. Here, play it.
We were so worried.
They're eating the dogs.
He wasn't making any sense.
The people come in. They're eating the cats.
And he just kept getting worse.
They did dumps. That's what they call them, dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Gross.
In Michigan and Pennsylvania. All over.
We had to do something.
They will take the life of the child in the 9th month. Even after birth, they'll execute the baby.
You sound crazy right now. Then a friend told us there was somewhere he could get the help he so desperately needed, called A Place for Trump.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Now he has round-the-clock support and can enjoy the things he loves, like eating cheeseburgers and rage posting at 3 a.m.
I know windmills very much, and they're driving the whales, I think, a little batty.
Sure. So this November, let's vote to put him in A Place for Trump. Because we all know he belongs in a home, just not this one.
I have concepts of a plan.
Of course you do.
Brett, Jordy, I want to get your reaction to that.
That ad, I think I could watch over and over and over. I don't know what it is about it, but it is so good. And it really, it really exposes Donald Trump for being like the maniac and that he is. It is such a contrast right now between these two candidates, and it frankly just could not be clearer. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get so riled up when I see some of this coverage, because you will see Donald Trump say things like he says in that video, and then you'll see the media report on it, and they'll be like, Donald Trump gave his speech on the economy on Thursday, and he delivered his economic plans for how he wants to make America great. I'm like, what did you hear? What am I missing here? What is going on here? But I'm happy that there's good messaging going out. And like I said before, we're seeing such optimism from one side. We're seeing such hate and division from the other side. And I think the contrast right now could not be clearer. We're even seeing Donald Trump out there, today calling America a garbage can. This is Donald Trump's closing message, I guess, with the campaign. His closing message is Arnold Palmer's penis, and his closing message is America's terrible, I guess. Here's Donald Trump today.
We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to we're like a garbage can.
We have to comment on his face there. I mean, I don't. I mean,
what's going on?
Play it again. I mean, we just have to observe what that looked like. I mean, I'm not gonna just take a look one more. At what point are we supposed to just play the clip?
We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to we're like a garbage can.
Seriously, every aspect of this guy. I mean, what he's saying. I mean, the other week he defecated on himself during like everything is like just the work. Like they created quite literally in every aspect the strangest, most bizarre, worst, most vile human being in every aspect. And they were like, we're just gonna test America. And like as I watched that, I'm like, just if you muted it and he wasn't calling America a garbage can, and I was just watching that, I would think to myself, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. He looks radioactive in that. The makeup for the audio listeners is on such a different scale too. But here's the thing that really upsets me, Brett, about the corporate media coverage in general here. It's like, it's two completely different grading scales. Like Trump could go on stage and all of a sudden turn what was supposed to be a town hall into, I don't know, just some random weird dance festival that they start to call Trump DJing in front of constituents, and how cool and smart that is. And then Kamala Harris has to stand up there on CNN the other night, I'm sure we'll get into it, and just get grilled, by question after question. And she did a fabulous job up during that town hall, but it's just absolutely insane to me that Trump gets to skirt away what's going on.
Then after that, you pointed it out too. You posted about it. All right, we'll go to our panel right now. How'd you think Vice President Kamala Harris performed at the CNN town hall? Well, Anderson, I was worried that she was trying to do the reverse pyramid structure of the logical argument. I think she should have went with the pyramid structure of the oratory skills. So I was a bit disappointed. And Brett, you're like, I don't even watch CNN anymore. But when I do the pyramid structure, what are these?
Like, what are we doing here? I almost threw my remote through the freaking TV after I heard that. I'm just going to be very candid with everybody right now, because I don't watch CNN ever, like never. And I watch it only for these events. I watched it specifically to watch this town hall, and I left it on. Let's see what they had to say. I thought she did a great job. First thing out of the gate, boom, Dana Bash, very critical. I've heard from my people. Who did you hear from? It just ended. What are you talking about? I heard that
she goes. I
she
heard
didn't seal
from
the deal.
I heard from my people. She did not seal the deal. Who Who are these people? What are you talking about?
What people? You haven't even gone to your independent panel or whatever, who, by the way, said the complete opposite of everything that you all said and that everybody on Twitter was trying to say, all of you journalists on Twitter. So that's like the first thing. And then I'm watching and I was like, I like just stewing like a crazy person here watching CNN, like hate watching it. And then one line after the next, after the next, after the next. And then we got to that comment. And that was, I think, Abby Phillip, who I generally like. I want to say I like it. I think her show is not good because it's just about people fighting. And I hate that format.
She got like 20 people on the show. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous concept.
It's like it's a little crazy. I don't like shows where people just fight each other. But I think it was her who's made the comment. That was her criticism. You know what? I think Kamala should have approached it from an inverted pyramid structure instead of a pyramid structure, the way she did. I was like, in what world would you ever judge Donald Trump by this ridiculous standard where you are analyzing the pyramid structure of her arguments? I'm like, what the heck what are we doing here? I was texting Ben and Jordy just going, what are we doing here? Like, am I crazy or is this the worst network I've ever seen in my life? Like, who watches this shit? Sorry. Like, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. That's starting to get animated. I could, and you know what? But there's a serious point to be made because after watching it, I was like, no wonder why the country isn't informed, A, and B, no wonder why everybody is terrified all the time. Because that channel is designed to really screw with your brain and to make you anxious and to make you upset. And that's just it's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not journalism. I don't know what it is. It's entertainment that's kind of just repositioned in a way that makes it feel like it's supposed to be neutral, unbiased news, but it is designed quite literally to misinform you and drive you nuts.
Remember that famous study that they did on Fox News a couple of years back when they found out that if you watch Fox News, if you're an avid Fox News viewer, you were actually less informed? I mean, that's the same thing. If they did that study to modern day CNN, and it's crazy to even say that, you'd walk away, I'd have to imagine, with the same conclusion, just that the nature of how they try and educate the audience. They're not educating the audience. They're confusing the audience because it's just a mess.
But it's why we structure the network the way we do. Like, it takes sometimes 12, 15 minutes to go through facts and evidence, right? It's not like a soundbite. I have to go through the court filing with you. So I'll read you the court filing. I'll show you the evidence. Then I'll share with you my opinion at the end. I try not to lead with my opinion, but I will show you all of the data points, and you could agree with me, you could disagree with me, but let's talk about all of the kind of data points right there versus, to your point, Brett, on a CNN show, they now have like a laughable amount of people at the table too. Like, their panels have like 9 people when you watch it. And quite literally, they set it up like it's some like game of like dodgeball. But verbal dodgeball, and it's like choo, 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 choo. And I'm like, okay, I can't even follow. What are we talking about economic policy? Because if we are, then Donald Trump is saying that he's going to do a 2,000% tariff, and he doesn't know what a tariff is because he keeps saying he's going to tariff China. That's not a thing. You don't tariff China. The tariff is a tax on imports, which is paid by the American consumer. So is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about how Donald Trump added $8 trillion of debt? Is this an economic conversation that we're having here? What are we talking about? Oh, are we trying to talk about how John Kelly, Donald Trump's former chief of staff and a 4-star general who has the reputation of, whether you like the guy or not, integrity and honesty, who said that Donald Trump wants to be Hitler, that Donald Trump admires Hitler's generals and said, why can't my generals be like Hitler? That all of Donald Trump's top generals who aren't even political people, that's the structure of it right there. They put him in this horseshoe and then they all start yelling at each other. And when I try to watch it, I'm like, this is unwatchable. They talk about the underlying issue for maybe 10 seconds. And then after that, it's just a yell fest. They interrupt each other. And it's not a way to consume news at all. Another example, not dodgeball, but, one of the like WrestleMania, if you will, like when they would do everybody in the arena at the same time. And it's like everybody's fighting everybody. And I don't even know what's going on. But that's how it's intended to be. And that's that angertainment right there. Let me take a look at what Donald Trump, though, was saying in these speeches. Here he talks about, I want to tape every conversation, but Nixon did that. So it's a good idea, bad idea. It's like the musings of a madman on stage. Here, watch this.
Every time I think about I want to tape every conversation. The problem is then I start thinking about Richard Nixon did that. And I say, let's do without the tape.
Because Nixon got caught because of the recordings. That's what he's saying right there. Or here he's like, they say I'm weird, a thicko, a weird. So Donald Trump's up there. And again, I in the last episode, we showed you Donald Trump talking about penis size of deceased golfers and whether he'd rather be eaten by sharks or electrocuted, or Hannibal Lecter or Al Capone. Everybody knows Al Capone, the greatest gangster, the greatest gangster. I've been indicted more than Al Capone. And then the crowd laughs. And I'm like, it's not even a joke. Are we talking? Where's where is any of this funny? Here he is on Governor Walz. He's a sicko. Here, play this clip.
And you can't even say, well, let's go to the vice president because he is really a sicko, right? Remember he called J.D. Vance and I weird? We're not weird. We're very solid people. He's a weird dude, that guy. He's always pumping his heart. Ha, ha, ha. Like he's...
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm like, what? But, I think that what he really should have done, the inverted pyramid structure was not executed to perfection.
The inverted pyramid structure. I'm never going to get over this line. I'm sorry. The inverted pyramid structure. And the craziest thing, sorry, I'm still riled up by it from last night. They acknowledge too. They're like, I think we probably, it's probably apparent that we do hold, that the media does hold Vice President Harris and Donald Trump to different standards. That's you. Yes, you're the cable news that everyone is talking about. So why don't you could acknowledge it. And now why don't you do something about it? Why don't you take the next step? Because you're so close. You're so close. I'm so happy for you because you're so close, but not quite.
Well, I never thought I'd have to build a media network, right? That was never crossed my mind, that, we were joking about it. I'm like, perhaps we built this network as a way of self-therapy because the corporate media was so, but then I realized that, but then it was the community self-therapy, and then it was the country self-therapy, and then it was the world self-therapy because we're being gaslit. We're being lied to every day. And, it's not hyperbolic. Oh, we're being lied to. We're being gaslit. I'm just showing you the types of things that he's saying. And if you think there's a world where it's acceptable to have someone in a position of leadership who's former chief of staff, who's former vice president, who's former national security advisor, whose former defense secretary, whose former closest aides say this person is a threat to democracy, this person wants to be a dictator, this person admires Adolf Hitler's generals, this person, I could go on and on and on, and you're like, well, that's conservative. It isn't. It isn't. There are signs, though, and we'll talk about this when we come back from our first break, though, that this coalition of pro-democracy, we built the network on that thesis, that there is ultimately, though, more people, the real silent majority in America. I feel it. I see it in the data of people who care about decency, whether it's men raising daughters or children or families or, just people who care about decency, women, men, from all walks of life, who want compassion, intelligent discourse, who want to leave a better world for future generations, who want to uplift and not punch down. I know that's what America is all about. And the contrast is on the back. You couldn't have a bigger contrast right here. So let's do this. Let's take our first quick break of the show. Then I want to show you, in contrast there, what Vice President Kamala Harris has been saying. We'll play you some clips there. We'll be back from our first quick break.
You would never clean your face with an abrasive scrub because it messes with your skin's natural barrier, right? So what if I told you that toilet paper is doing the exact same thing to your bottom, causing micro tears on your body's most delicate skin? Yikes. The solution? Switch to a Tushy bidet and wash with a gentle, soothing stream of water every time you go. I've been using the Tushy bidet and there is no going back. The installation was super easy. It took me less than 10 minutes to set up and I didn't need any special tools or extra plumbing. It fits right in with my bathroom vibe too, and you actually feel clean after you use it. The Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet and it doesn't need electricity or complicated plumbing. You just sit, do your thing, and turn the knob for a refreshing stream of water. Then you could pat dry with a little toilet paper, simple and effective. Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty. It's time we give love and care to our body's most sensitive skin and join the 2 million butts who have already switched to Tushy. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code MIDAS at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code MIDAS, MEIDAS.
So did you know that over 2 billion plastic razors end up in U.S. landfills each year? It's a staggering number, I know, and it's just one of the many reasons why we need to rethink our shaving habits. Henson Shaving is leading the charge in this revolution. Let's join it together. Their razors are made of aluminum with no plastic in sight, not even in the packaging. And get this, they work with standard dual-edge blades that cost less than 10 cents each. Once you have a Henson razor, you're looking at just $3 to $5 per year for blade replacements. It's a win for your wallet and a win for the environment. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. So visit HensonShaving.com/Midas and pick the razor for you and use the code MIDAS, MEIDAS, and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to HensonShaving.com/Midas and use that code MIDAS. Prize Picks, it's the best place to get real money sports action. So join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead up to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Think Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards next week. Christian McCaffrey run for more than 75.5 yards. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, it's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the football board and selecting Justin Jefferson for more than 83.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes for less than 267.5 passing yards. Sorry, Patrick. Download the app today and use the code MIDAS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Download the app today. Use the code MIDAS. Once again, Prize Picks, run your game. Code MIDAS.
Let's go. Shout out to our wonderful sponsors, Great Read Brothers. Links in the description of audio, YouTube. Use the links. Tushy, fabulous. They're back. Just all incredible stuff. Henson, Prize Picks, all amazing stuff. Go check it out if you're into that stuff. They're fantastic.
You know, Jordy, remember earlier in the show, I said, who wakes up and says, by the way, here in the background, we got a little appearance there from Baby Jimena, future podcast.
Big cameo, big podcast cameo.
Big cameo.
Wow.
Remember earlier when I said, who wakes up and says to themselves, look, I want an America that looks like 1798. That's one of Trump's closing message. Also, one of Trump's closing message is that, you know, Venezuela was great 15 years ago. Hugo Chavez, Venezuela, that's peak. We should be like that. Here, play. This is what he just said in Arizona. Play this clip.
An embarrassment. Nobody will even know. It'll happen so fast. It can happen fast. Look at Venezuela. 15 years ago, Venezuela was a thriving, incredible country, and now it's I mean, the people can't get a bottle of water.
And he always praises too Venezuela. He's like, we should do our next Republican National Convention in Venezuela. He's like,
I thought he
"That would be
said it
great
was a
place
better
to-"
country than the United States. I thought that's.
And by the way, don't forget, they did CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee. They did it in Hungary. Viktor Orban, that was the site of it in Hungary itself right there. But Brett, do you have the photo of what the crowd even looked like in Tempe, Arizona? I think we've got a photo of it, that it was a fairly, as contrasted to Vice President Kamala Harris' event in Arizona, 90 minutes before he took the stage, it was basically empty outside. The crowd itself is only 70% full, and that's definitely in contrast to what we're seeing. But Brett, one of the reasons I always bring Tom Bonnier and Simon Rosenberg on as well is there's so much bad data out there. I mean, quite literally, there are all these bad faith actors who are pushing all of these just like politically motivated polls intended to bring down like averages and like manipulate things. And so it's like, I know that there are a lot of people out there who, maybe you wake up, you get a good poll. Then in the afternoon, there's like a bad poll. And then at night, there's like a good poll. So like, we're good, we're not good, we're great, we're horrible, and it's kind of this up and down roller coaster. I'll say this. Right now, you can control what you can control. And we are getting all of these stories of people who are using these next 10 days to motivate family members, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to get out there and vote. And we're hearing stories, tens of thousands here. We probably have accumulated hundreds of thousands of Republicans who are supporting Vice President Kamala Harris, former Trump voters who are supporting Vice President Kamala Harris, independents supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. As I said, this coalition of pro-democracy that's building. I mean, look, you could take a look over here. This is a Michigan State University poll. It's B+, good poll right here. And there's all these junk polls. This is a good poll. Like they know the area, Michigan State University. They have Vice President Kamala Harris of 52 to 47%. When you take a look at Muhlenberg's poll and you go to specific districts as well, like in Pennsylvania itself, Vice President Kamala Harris in the Northampton area up by 4, in the Lehigh area up 7. Those are bigger margins than Biden had in those areas, which are significant because if you extrapolate that at large, Jordy, the Commonwealth area, that is a good sign right there. But perhaps for me, one of the most interesting data points that I'm focused on, if you want to know, like, what do you focus on, Ben? It's this one right here. How are people actually voting? How about that concept? People who have voted already, how have they voted? And what can that tell us? So this was an incredibly interesting one. Marist, they're a good pollster. They've looked at Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Early voting there, actual voters, actual people who have gone out there and voted. What's interesting about these states is that in these states, there have been more Republicans who have voted than Democrats. They also have a high non-party or independent or non-party vote as well. But what's interesting in these states where Republican raw vote totals, we don't know who they voted for, but we have polling data now that suggests where that might have been. But just by the numbers, more Republicans than Democrats in this area. Unlike, say, in Pennsylvania, where it's like plus 32 Democrats who have voted. And when you extrapolate Michigan, it's a significant more amount of Democrats than Republicans. But here, where Republicans have outnumbered Democrats in the vote already, amongst people who have already voted, Harris up in Arizona, 55 to 44. North Carolina, Harris up 55 to 43. Harris up 54 to 45 in Georgia. Then when Marist then tells us, but the likely voters in the future, then they'll say, well, that favors Donald Trump. And I go, how does that make any sense to me? If someone's telling you they're a likely voter and they're going to vote in the future, why wouldn't they have already voted if they're, one, responding to your poll, and two, so committed that they're saying that they're a likely voter in these states? And so I don't know. I thought that data, Brett, was a significant data point that's worth mentioning. But I would tell everybody, go and watch my interview with Simon and Tom, because one of the jokes as well that we have at the network is, all right, Ben's going to his therapy session. He's got his Tom Bonnier, and so if you watch me, I'm like, all right, guys. So some people wake up and they feel great. And then in the afternoon,
some people.
Some people.
We should put that on the audio feed, by the way. I don't know if we got that up on the audio feed just yet. We should definitely get that there for the podcast listeners.
That's a great idea. And everyone should add and subscribe to the audio feed, which is free anywhere you find audio podcasts, the MeidasTouch Podcast. Yeah, there's so much junk data. And a lot of it, quite frankly, is hard to make sense of. And we're dealing with a different digital landscape, I will say, and a media landscape than we were even in 2022. And especially from 2020, where literally the social media networks have been fully weaponized against everybody, against reality itself, quite frankly. If you go on Twitter, you will have a completely, or X, whatever, you will have a completely skewed view of the world that does not resemble reality whatsoever. Like not even like a little bit, especially if you don't know exactly who's telling the truth and who's not. There's a lot of liars. The bad information is the stuff that's being pushed to you, and it's being pushed to you as propaganda because the owner of the website, Elon Musk, is a Trump supporter who's poured in tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into a PAC to elect Donald Trump, and he's using all of his things that he's built and purchased, rather, in order to try to elect Donald Trump. That's what he's doing. Then you have that other strategy, which is something we've talked about here, which you spoke about with Tom Bonnier, which is that the Republican strategy is project strength, project strength, project strength. And the Democratic strategy, especially in fundraising, is we're behind, we're doomed, it's over. So you have all of this psychology that's designed to make you feel bad. Like from all sides, even from the Democratic side, it's designed to make you feel bad. And then you have people online saying the momentum's gone. The joy is gone. Up the joy, bye joy, bye joy. I don't know about you, but when I look at this crowd here waiting to get into Trump's rally, and I see it empty, and I see the reaction of the crowds in these rallies, and then I head on over and I look at the crowds that I'm seeing at every Vice President Harris event hours before, with crowds chanting and cheering and dancing and lines wrapping around the block. And when I speak to people and they are telling me how enthusiastic everybody is when they go and knock on doors, I'm just getting such a different story from folks, actually, like in real life, than I am from any of this garbage that's being thrown at you every single day. And there are all these narratives like, oh, is Kamala, it looks like she's crashing in the polls. No, she's not. I don't know where you're getting this from. Like when you take the high quality polls, she's ticked down like 0.05% in the polls or something. Like it's a negligible number or whatever. And everyone acts like it's like this giant thing. And then you see one poll that has her +7, one poll that has her down 2, one poll that has her +4, one poll that has her tied. And for some reason, people only focus on the bad ones. But that's why it's like the only reason I think it's even worth showing the polls is to be like, listen, they're all over the place. You have some that have her up. Disregard them, because it's going to be a turnout game. And if enough people get to the polls, guess what? Vice President Harris is going to win. And we are seeing unprecedented levels of support for Vice President Harris amongst Republicans, amongst independents, amongst moderates. We are seeing this all over the country. I think there is a silent Kamala voter out there who is voting for Kamala Harris, for example, even if maybe their husband doesn't want them to vote for her, they're voting for Kamala Harris, or somebody doesn't want to tell their neighbor, maybe they're too shy to him, whatever it is, that we're going to see a lot of this. And I feel like often on this show in the past, we've had to push kind of against the current. In 2022, I remember, us sitting here and having Simon. It feels like, like it feels like we've deja vu, like we've done this so much right now. and we get comments like, oh, it's just, it's a hopium. Like, why? I don't know. It seems like a red wave. I hear Republicans, on Twitter, it says the Republicans are going to take 30 seats. On CNN's telling me that it's a red wave and that, the momentum's increasing for Republicans right now. And that just has not come to fruition. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump can't win this election. He very much can. It's a toss-up race. By all accounts, it's a toss-up race. But there is zero indication that this is leaning towards Donald Trump whatsoever. And Kamala Harris could very much win this thing. And it's not out of the question that she wins it even bigger than people expect. And so everybody just needs to realize that fact and understand that now is the time to be putting in the work and motivating people and getting out there, because that's all that matters, not all the garbage that's being thrown at you by all of these horrific sources that just want to make you angry, make things scared and make you scared and turn everything to a horse race.
And it's okay to feel how you're feeling, however that is. Like, don't be too bummed at yourself if you feel like you're on edge, but implore yourself, control what you can control here down the stretch, right? Whether that's telling family members to go out and vote, whether that's canvassing, whether that's phone bank, whatever you can do, just do that. And that's amazing. And you're doing a great job. And it is, it's an exhaustive time for sure because of what Brett just laid out perfectly right there. And it's okay to feel all the emotions that you're feeling right now as we head down to this final stretch.
Look, we've got a lot to discuss on this show. I also do want to discuss, it's a big deal to me that we have yet another victim of Donald Trump coming forward with evidence as well, supporting everything. The story from The Guardian, Donald Trump groped me in what felt like a twisted game with Jeffrey Epstein, former model alleges. Stacey Williams says that Donald Trump, whose spokesperson denied the allegations, touched her in an unwanted sexual way. I think that's what's called molestation, in 1993. After Jeffrey Epstein introduced them, and Donald Trump's previously said Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side. Donald Trump partied with Jeffrey Epstein. They were very close buddies. Epstein would traffic women who he would find at Mar-a-Lago. Virginia Giuffre worked at Mar-a-Lago, for example, after she was homeless. And then she was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell to then work with Jeffrey Epstein, and then Epstein trafficked her and sexually abused her. And Donald Trump wished Ghislaine Maxwell well in her trafficking trial. I mean, things like that. Like, shouldn't that be like what, corporate media talks about every day? I mean, it seems like a big deal to me. We're going to cover it here on the MeidasTouch Network. And I also want to show you some of those clips from the town hall just to show you Vice President Kamala Harris's thoughtful responses. We'll be back after our last quick break.
Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. Hey, I got to be honest with myself, right? It feels like I have to choose between having a great night or a great next day. That is until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's the blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. For example, after a fun night out with friends at like a local bar or wherever we go, I could still get up the next morning and hit the gym. And I'll admit, I was skeptical at first, but I tried it at a dinner party with some friends. The next morning, I felt great, ready to tackle the day, ready to do more videos here at the MeidasTouch Network. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I get the hype. Plus, with their GMO technology, ZBiotics is continuing to create probiotics that tackle the challenges of modern living. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use that code Meidas. It's MEIDAS at checkout for 15% off.
The best bacon, the best steak, the best chicken, the best salmon you'll ever eat. It's not going to come from the grocery store. It's going to come from the family farm and independent Alaskan fishermen. And now you can get it when you join the Moink movement today. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Moink farmers farm like our grandparents did. And as a result, Moink meat tastes like it should because the family farm does it better. And the Moink difference is a difference that you can actually taste. Unlike the supermarket, Moink gives you the total control over the quality and source of your food. You choose the meat delivered in every box, like ribeyes to chicken breast to pork chops to salmon fillets and much more. Plus, you can cancel it at any time. And I love that Moink is helping save rural America. Join the Moink movement today, and you'll never turn back. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary called Moink's bacon the best bacon he's ever tasted, and Ring Doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff jumped at the chance to invest in Moink. Plus, they guarantee you'll say, oink, oink, I'm just so happy I got Moinked. I know I do, and you will too. Keep American farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch right now, and listeners of our show get free hot rolls in your first box. It's the best hot rolls you'll ever taste for a limited time. It's spelled MOINK box.com/MeidasTouch. That's moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch. One more time, moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch. Moink.
Let's go. I like how your voice cracks a little bit at the end of that.
Yeah.
I look forward to that each time. I like.
Yeah, it's good.
Shout out Cbiotics, shout out Moink. Links in description of both YouTube and audio. Ben's really upset with me, but use those codes. Let them know we sent you, and appreciate it.
I want to. I noticed that too. I mean, we don't have to double call attention to it. That's all right. All right. Let me show you a very thoughtful answer that Vice President Kamala Harris gave during the all of it was, but I could show you a ton of things. But here she's talking about, this is an important issue, the bipartisan border security bill that she supported. One of the strange things, strange is probably not, one of the real harmful things that I think is disqualifying about Trump and this MAGA movement. We used to disagree on policy, but ultimately, try to move the nation forward. What MAGA does, it's an authoritarian trick. They actually want to cause pain to America, actually hurt people. Because if they hurt people and people are confused and feeling pain and suffering, authoritarians know this, you can prey on people and trick them and manipulate people more. They're suffering and people suffering. That's why con artists and scammers target people who are suffering devastation, maybe health problems, people who are elderly, people who are in disaster zones. They're vulnerable. But that's not what politics should be about. We should be providing solutions. So, one of the things that Donald Trump has been trying to do, number one, is he wanted to shut down the government. Always. That didn't work. But what he was able to do, because he knew that would tank the economy, remember he gave that interview where he said that he hoped there would be a depression when Biden was in office, where he said that. He hoped that there would be a depression when Biden, who hopes for there to be a depression? That's never been said before by anyone running for office. It's a crazy, disqualifying thing to say. But one of the things that he did do is he killed a bipartisan border deal that would have helped address issues on the border. Because Donald Trump knew that the corporate media would both sides the issues. People wouldn't really know how our legislative system works. The Republican Party has generationally worked to gut civics and education. Most people don't even know the difference between the Senate and the House of Representatives, yet alone how a bill becomes a law. Remember, Schoolhouse Rocks was like fundamental learning when we were going to school, but that's been almost completely gutted right now. So all people don't know is, hey, something happened and we should blame someone for it, right? And Republicans go, hey, blame the guy who's currently in the presidency for it. But Donald Trump killed a bipartisan border deal so he can run on the problem. He wanted to run on the problem. So everything he can say is immigration, immigration, immigration. Well, here, Vice President Harris at the town hall, she's asked questions about this and she explains it. She doesn't go, Arnold Palmer's penis. Oh, she's not out there saying, have I told you about Hannibal Lecter? He's a killer. He's a killer. No, she's saying, look, here's what I want to do. Here's the policy. Here, play this clip.
Start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time. And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in, and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl. I don't need to tell this state and people around the country what is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed the bill because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. We have to have a secure border, and we have to have a comprehensive pathway for citizenship. And that includes requiring people, hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Now, you contrast that to Donald Trump's speech this evening in Arizona. He confused Afghanistan and Ukraine. He called his voters fat asses. He confused ICE with ISIS. And that was just getting started right there. I do want to show people this, though, because I don't think it's getting enough attention. And we've been covering it every step of the way here. It's Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein connection, right? Donald Trump said that Jeffrey Epstein's a great guy who likes girls on the younger side. Donald Trump is quoted as saying that about Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump partied with Epstein. He hung out with Epstein. He's all over Epstein's call log. He's all over Epstein's flight log. Remember, all the MAGAs, we want to see the list. We want to see the list. Well, we saw the list. Donald Trump's the number one person on the list. Over and over again, right? Epstein found the girls at Mar-a-Lago. Virginia Giuffre worked at Mar-a-Lago. Ghislaine Maxwell, who trafficked for Epstein, went to Mar-a-Lago, found Giuffre, had her work with Epstein, and then Epstein trafficked her. It was one of the ways Epstein found the girls, was at Mar-a-Lago. Now we are learning about an individual by the name of Stacey Williams. And this was reported in The Guardian. And I think it's not getting nearly enough attention. She talks about a sick and twisted game that Epstein and Trump played with her. Epstein brought her over to Donald Trump's office. And while they were in his office, Donald Trump started grabbing her breasts, her buttocks, her legs, her body, and feeling her up and feeling her all around for a significant period of time. She got very uncomfortable with that and didn't like she stopped it while it was kind of happening, but he was doing it over and over and over again to her. And then Epstein was pissed at her that she wouldn't do more. She's come forward with supporting evidence as well, including after Donald Trump molested her, this note that Donald Trump sent to her in his own handwriting. You can see it for our audience that's watching this. Stacey, you're home away from home. Love, Donald. That's his handwriting. I asked Cohen if that's his handwriting. Cohen confirmed that was Donald Trump's handwriting. This is who Donald Trump is. You know, we've talked about one of Donald Trump's businesses were preteen and teenage beauty pageants. I mean, just think about that. Like, that's what he did in the 90s. Beauty pageants for 12, 13, 14-year-old girls. He went into that business, and then they would throw parties. It's written about. The Guardian did a story as well, on yachts where men old enough to be these 13, 14-year-old girls' grandparents would grind on the little girls on the yachts. In the 90s, Donald Trump's photographed with the 14 and 15-year-old girls. He's reposted it himself recently on his social media to show that he's like a strong guy. He posted the photo from the 13, it's called Look of the Year competition. If you want to Google it, look up Trump Look of the Year competition with these, with these young girls. I mean, think about how Donald Trump talks about him. Brett, your point was, there's a lot of people speculating, oh, is there some other story coming out about Donald Trump? And we were like, what other story do you need to know? He was found liable for sexual assault by a jury. He's on video recording saying these things over and over again like this. This is how Donald Trump talked about his own daughter. Let's play it.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Okay, Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that to her.
If I weren't happily married and, her father.
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's
unbelievable.
tall. She's almost 6 feet.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Okay, now let me show you. This is audio of Donald Trump saying at those beauty pageants, he would walk in on the girls without their consent and inspect their naked bodies. Here, play the clip.
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like
everything
a
is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things.
Then Donald Trump said this about Lindsay Lohan. When she just turned 18, he said that, he says the women who suffer from mental illness are way better in bed. So he fantasizes about having sex with an 18-year-old, which I think she had maybe just turned 18 at that time because of her mental health issues. Here, play the clip.
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now?
I think she's hot.
There's something there, right?
Yes.
But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest.
Yes.
And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles?
If the father's a wreck like the way he is,
right.
You imagine the sex with this troubled...
Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed.
Back in the day...
How come the deeply troubled women...
Yes.
Deeply, deeply troubled.
Right.
They're always the best in bed. If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable.
I can tell from the...
You don't want to be with them for the long term, but for the short term, there's nothing.
Now, there's unforgivable, period, full stop. That's the leader of the Republican Party there. I guess one of the questions, though, is, has Donald Trump, with age, evolved? Has he been, I was wrong in saying those things back then. No. Donald Trump recently spoke in front of young Republicans. So this is a speech in front of teenage boys and teenage girls who want to get into Republican politics, and young men, young women who are of college age who are getting involved in Republican politics. So what do you think Donald Trump is talking to the future people who want to get involved into politics about? Courage, he says. But he says the most courageous thing that he's done in his life, a general told him, he claims, was that when he called sexually assaulting women by grabbing women by their vaginas, when he called that locker room talk he said that was the most courageous thing he's ever done. He said a general who's seen people die in battle told him that referring to sexually assaulting women by molesting them, locker room talk, was such a brave move. This is what he tells the kids in the audience. Here, play the clip.
But I went onto that stage just a few days later, and a general who's a fantastic general actually said to me, "Sir, I've been on the battlefield. Men have gone down on my left and on my right. I stood on hills where soldiers were killed. But I believe the bravest thing I've ever seen was the night you went onto that stage with Hillary Clinton after what happened. And then that woman asked you the first question about it. And I said, Locker room talk. It's locker room talk. What the hell? What are you talking? Locker room talk. That was not a great...
Yeah, that was recent. Donald Trump said that to kids. And I'm not going to show you the other clips now. You've seen him before, where he goes in front of a high school and talks about that he doesn't like to get urinated on by hookers. He said that in a high school gym. He goes in churches and encourages the kids to say the word bullshit over and over again, and the kids lead a bullshit chant inside a church. So I leave you with this in this episode because now it's time to take action. It's really also a time for, I think the parents out there specifically, talk to the boys in your life, because this stuff, these right-wing podcasts are hitting them every day and saying that this is how men are supposed to act, and that's not the case. So please have a talk with family members. Have a talk with, people in your life. This is not acceptable behavior. And this is where, I just feel that what we do is not even so much political. Like, yeah, sure, Donald Trump is speaking at the young Republicans, but that's going to be a Republican view, what he's saying, right? That's just horrible stuff. And this is who he's been his entire life. This is about moral character. It's about integrity and decency and intelligence and facts and compassion. It's about our democracy. It's about our freedoms. You see it right there. You see it right there. And that's why I guess the question that we all have to ask is, what can we do in the next 10 days? What can we do? Can we volunteer? If you can, please do that. Volunteer. There's lots of opportunities. But just reach out to people in your life. Get them to vote for democracy. And share with us in the comments below what you've been able to accomplish, so you can encourage others to learn what you're doing. If you phone banked, let us know, where'd you do it at? If you've helped write postcards and found that effective, share with people what you did there. Share in the comments. We would really appreciate that. We're going to do an after show now, right after this. I'm looking forward to that. Brad, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, also share your voting stories. I love reading your voting stories about you going to the polls. Let us know if you voted early, if you submitted a mail-in ballot, if there was a line at your polling place, what the kind of vibe was like. I love hearing kind of on-the-ground stories from everybody. And keep your head up, tune out the noise, put in the work. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Anybody who tells you confidently that they know what is going to happen in either direction, by the way, let's throw that out. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but we all know, we got to stay motivated, right? You got to stay motivated. You got to be putting in the work. And I feel optimistic about you all, about the community. And so let's keep at it. And I appreciate you all as always. And looking forward to this after show on patreon.com/MeidasTouch for those who want to join us over there and watch it. We got to be setting up a little Zoom Q&A with the folks on patreon.com/MeidasTouch soon. So more details on that to come, but sign up so that you can meet us and chat with us and ask us questions directly. We'd love to see you before Election Day. So that's that. Jordy, want to take us out?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.